Yeah, I think we actually, we had a really good summer as far as we implemented. I think we had 50 new players, join us between the spring and the summer. So a lot of time spending together, whether that was going off campus and doing things, or we had a lot of on campus stuff that we were able to do together. Whether that was playing kickball and doing some things of that nature, just to try to spend more time together off the field to get to know each other. Anytime you bring in that many new people, there's always a challenge of incorporating them with the current group. But I feel like our current group did a fantastic job. Our strength coaches did an outstanding job all summer, putting them in position to obviously train them, but also allow them to connect and get to know each other on a deeper level. And that was our biggest challenge this summer is doing that. But I like where we're at now as far as coming through the summer. I do think from a talent standpoint, we brought in some talented guys to compete with the guys that are returning. I like our young people, the freshmen that came in. As far as what we've seen in the summer now, obviously it gets real now. You get to start doing football. But I like our attitude and I like our mindset with the people that joined us through that time frame. They bought into what we're doing and their flames. And so we're looking forward to today and seeing how we can continue to build this team.
I know a lot of new players, but a year of familiarity with this university and leading this program. As a head coach, how much more comfortable do you feel going into fall camp this year than last?
Well, yeah, I think the comfort level comes from everybody that's here wants to be here, and I think that's a big deal that they know the expectations and know the standards. Last year, we're learning them, they're learning us. It was like you're walking on glass a little bit sometimes trying to avoid it. This year you feel like you can run at it. Now, they're still new guys, but they know the standard now because the other guys know what it is, and they've taught that to them. And so way more comfortable for us and our coaches. Obviously, expectations are high. Last year, who knows if they were high? They were high internally, but maybe outside they weren't. So now you got the outside expectations. So that always makes it a little bit more challenging. But the key is you can't get too comfortable.
Coach, with the standards being raised now, as you just touched on, how do you, quantify success for fall camp? What's that look like for you this fall camp in particular?
I think the main thing, one, you want to come through a fall camp. For me, looking at successful, one, do you come through hopefully injury free? Two, does the identity that you want to be about in all three phases, do you feel confident that you've secured that identity by the way you practice, by the mindset? And then I think three is we've got to come out. We got to come out of the next 3 weeks with a hunger that we're going after something. We're pursuing something, and if we can do that, then I feel like we'll have a team that's set up to have a chance to have some success.
Where are you at from a health standpoint going into camp? You mentioned injuries is there. I know Ronald Moore is out, got hurt in the spring. Anybody else that's out significantly right now?
I think Ronald's the only one. We've got some guys that are not full go. They'll be able to do certain individual and some different things of that nature that had off-season surgeries. Elijah Hopkins, had an off-season shoulder surgery, so he'll be able to do certain things, but he's not a full go yet. He's one, and so besides Ron, those are the guys that we feel good that can. Everybody else is good to go as far as being able to actually practice and do something. Might not be full yet, but hopefully we'll get to that point by next couple of weeks.
What position?
I was just going to follow up real quick. Reese Smith and Victor Jones got injured last summer. How are they back?
So Reese is taking it at a slow pace. You'll see him doing some individual and different things. Victor will not be. Victor's still got a ways to go. Had a setback, and so he'll be not doing hardly anything. Reese will be spoon-fed a little bit until we can feel good about where he's at.
Which position group or groups do you feel like have the most question marks at this point?
I think receiver-wise, you brought in some new guys. You lost some good players. You got some guys that are returning that have played, but there's a question as far as who's going to step up. I think we've got some people that can. They've just not done it, for us yet. So I think that's a big question mark. And then I think offensive line, as far as who's going to be that 5 to 6 to 7 that play, losing 3 starters there and some guys behind him not really played a lot, maybe a little. And have they taken that next step? So those are the 2 offensively that you're like, all right, who's going to step up? I think defensively, to me, the biggest question mark is probably who's going to step up at corner. We lost a lot of production from that area, and I like who we brought in. There's a lot of competition, but they've really not done anything for us. And so, who will step up over the next 2 or 3 weeks that we can count on? There's a lot of people, but who can we actually count on is the biggest question.
Defensively, last year you guys lived on turnovers, and you mentioned losing something at corner there with a lot of pieces. Can this defense realistically expect to, maybe not 21 interceptions again, but to be able to make a living the way that it did last year?
You know what? I hope. We were very opportunistic, but typically, if you study, anytime you have that high of turnover, usually it comes down a little bit. That's just the nature of the game. But we have emphasized all off season the opportunity to take the ball away. One thing about last year, we had those 21 turns, we hardly had any fumbles. So the big emphasis that we've had this offseason is more of the tackling and stripping the ball. We might not get 21 interceptions, but can we add some fumbles in there and offset that? But we do have to have a swarm mindset there. I do like the group on that side of the ball. I think there's a lot of competition, and what I mean by that is there are a lot of guys that can play, that can do some things. They've got to do it consistently, I think, is the biggest question mark. But I think you'll see us play this year a lot of different people. Or last year we didn't play hardly anybody except the main ones. I do think you'll see a lot of different people play this year from a depth standpoint.
And then, so from the secondary, playing a lot of, what about front seven? Do you foresee the same thing? Do you feel good about the depth there?
I think just from again, a lot of them haven't done it here, but for what we've observed through spring, what we've observed through summer, I think there's a lot of people that have the opportunity to play. Now, is that, hey, you get 40 plays and you get 40 plays? No. But I do think you'll see more of a true rotation where a lot of people can play. I do think from a depth standpoint, guys we feel that can play and be productive, I think there'll be some more people that get the opportunity to do that.
Coach,
What's the word for this season? Oh, sorry.
Pursue.
Pursue.
Yes, sir.
Oh, Coach, I was going to ask you, obviously with the expansion of the college football playoff to 12 teams, and if we had it last year, Liberty would be in the playoffs. Just how big is this opportunity now, knowing you guys are favored to win the conference, and more than likely, if you do win Conference USA, you have a good shot at getting into the playoffs?
Well, I think one, it's awesome to have that opportunity. You have 12 teams that get the chance to play for a national championship. So if you're one of those 12, that's a special deal. On the other hand, as a coach, I don't like that outside influence to where, hey, you got to do this or that to get here. I don't want our guys to focus on that. I think that brings a challenge because you are one of the whatever, at least preseason, and I want our guys to be pursuing the right things. If we're pursuing only that, then we're going to not accomplish it because we're going to lose sight of what it takes to get there. And so, but I do love that not only ourselves, but any other team that's at our level that has an unbelievable year has a chance to go be one of the 12 and play for something. I think that's pretty cool.
One thing I noticed about this team last year is just how much you guys enjoyed winning and celebrated winning. When you're trying to have, maybe not trying to have a perfect season, but when you have a perfect season like that, you really have to take it week by week. Does that aid in the process? Is that part of the process for you guys in taking it week by week? Is, hey, let's celebrate the little things along the way? How important is that along the way?
Well, I think our whole program is built off of that. Everybody gets mad at us for celebrating, but it's more about just who we are as far as it's hard to win. I've been on some good sides of that. I've been on some bad sides of that. It's hard to win, and these guys, we ask a lot of them all year long to have the opportunity to go out and play. And so we want to make sure that they're focused on liberty and what we need to do to go be our best. That's our whole premise of everything. Every week is about liberty and being our best on that Saturday or that Wednesday or that Tuesday. And can we be the best version of ourselves? And if we are, we're going to celebrate it as much as we can because it's hard to do. And that helps us stay focused on what we can control because we can't control if we go undefeated and somebody else thinks this team's better than us. But we can't control what we do every time we're out there. And so hopefully this group will buy into that as much as the last one did. And I think that's the challenge, is because now there's more expectations. Right? Last year, man, this year, well, coach, why didn't you win by 20? That's coming, right? Or this or that. What's wrong with you? Only, so we've got to do a good job of not focusing on those things and staying in our lane.
Last year, this time, you had a quarterback competition going into training camp, but obviously Caden Salter emerged and had a really good year last year. A lot of preseason hype around him going into this year. What's been your message to him this offseason going into 2024?
I think the main thing for him is continue to grow in the quarterback area. He's obviously a leader of the football team, and we know how the talent and what he was able to show last year when he got his opportunity. Now, can he hone in on some things, little things, and tangible stuff that will help him take that next step? And then who's he bringing with him? Like, he's got to be locked in. He's going to get all these different accolades and all these different people saying all these things about him. Can he not worry about that and focus on his team and help him bring them with him? Because I think as a quarterback, if you can raise the level of the people around you, then you got something special. And he has that ability to do that because people will follow him. And he's made some good strides in that through spring, as far as just being complete. And what I mean by that is obviously being able to do the things on the field, but also getting people to want to follow him and do some things off of it. And so I like where he's at now, and hopefully through this next 3 weeks, as it gets tougher, that those leadership qualities will continue to rise, and everybody knows, hey, this is the guy we can follow.
You go online. We got one from Ed Lane. Ed, go ahead.
JD, you guys as a coaching staff have been through successful seasons and then building on successful seasons. When you have a successful season and then are building on it, do you enter camp with a heightened awareness of making sure guys have that edge and have that intensity they need to make sure they're not complacent?
Yes, absolutely. I think you have to, anytime you have a good season, no matter what that's quantified as. The next year, I think you got to be tougher as you're going in. I think your practice got to be harder. I think the details that you're focusing on, you got to make sure that you're on those things. I think anytime you relax as a coach, then they take your personality on. And so I think that's the biggest challenge is not resting on what you've done and not looking backwards, because I think that's an easy thing to do. One of the things we've talked about a lot this year is that this season's like a horse race, and anytime if you watch a Kentucky Derby per se, and they always go through when they're walking the horses up to the paddock there, the starting line, they go through who the jockeys are and how many times they've won the Derby, and this horse has been trained by this, and they talk about all these great things, but the horse that wins is the one that runs fastest that day. And so our whole focus has been more about, hey, we got to run the fastest race every time we get that opportunity. It doesn't matter that you did this or your jockey's this or you've won this, and that's a hard challenge, I think, as a coaching staff you have, because most young people, when you have success, you think, well, we'll just do the same thing, it'll happen again, and that doesn't happen. And so we've got to have a really tough training camp here, put our mindset and who we want to be to handle this journey that we're going on.
We got time for one more question.
Coach, you got on defense, C.J. Bazille, obviously conference preseason defensive player there. He was somebody who was honorable mention last year, kind of jumped up to become defensive preseason player there. What do you see in him that kind of makes people feel like he's going to make that leap to the next step?
Yeah, that was a little surprise, to be honest with you, and not necessarily because we didn't think he was that good of a player, but I didn't realize everybody else recognized him from that standpoint. One thing about CJ that I think the team will tell you and all the coaches will tell you, he goes hard all the time. There's no relaxing in him as far as if you're supposed to run through the line, he's going to run through the line and run through the next line, run through the next line. He's one of those guys that just loves to keep going, loves to keep playing, and so that mindset that he has, I think, helps him because he's relentless in what he pursues, and he plays extremely hard. Doesn't say a lot. I mean, if you've ever talked to him, it's yes and yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes sir, no sir. It's about all he says, or yes, coach, and so. I think that's what people love about him. And if you watch his video, you see he plays with that effort. And we do expect him to make a great jump this year. I'm telling you, I expect him to live up to that. I hope he does. But I do think he's got that ability and that mindset to make that happen.